Have you ever hit Control+Z and just stopped and wondered, how in the world does that actually work? That little bit of time travel magic we use every day? Well, it's not really magic. It's just some seriously clever engineering. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the Memento design pattern, which is basically the secret sauce behind your code's very own undo button. So here's our game plan. First, we'll dig into what makes undo so tricky in the first place, the undo dilemma. Then, we'll introduce the star of the show, the Memento pattern, and meet its three main characters. We'll see how they all work together, and then we'll wrap up with the really practical stuff, when you should actually use this thing in your own projects. All right, let's dive right in with the core problem we're trying to solve. I'm calling it the undo dilemma, and it's all about this task that sounds super simple, but it's actually surprisingly hard, saving an object state and then restoring it whenever you want. No, I mean, really think about it for a second. You're typing, you're deleting, you're resizing an image, and your app is just sitting there silently remembering every single move you make, ready to rewind time at a moment's notice. How on earth does it store all that history without becoming a complete and total mess? And here's where it gets really tricky. This is the fundamental conflict. To save an object state, you have to get at its internal data, right? But one of the golden rules of good software design is something called encapsulation, which basically says keep your private stuff private. So how do you save the state without breaking the rules? So how do we solve this puzzle? Well, this is where our hero enters the story. It's time to meet the Memento pattern, the truly elegant solution to this very problem. Okay, so here's the official definition. The Memento pattern lets you save and restore an object state without having to reveal what's going on inside. I love this analogy. It's like getting a copy of a secret recipe, but it's locked in a box. You can't see the ingredients, but you can hand that box back to the chef, and they can make the dish again perfectly. The secret stays safe. Now, this pattern isn't a solo act. It's more like a three-person play, and each character has a very specific and very important role to play. First up, meet the originator. This is our main object, the one with all the important information we need to save. Think of your text document or your character in a video game. It's got the content, the cursor position, the health points, all the stuff that defines its current state. The originator is the one we want to give time travel powers to. Next, we have the memento itself. This is the actual snapshot, the saved state, the time capsule. When the originator wants to save a checkpoint, it creates a memento and bundles up its current state inside. But here's the absolute genius part. To everyone else in the program, this memento is a complete black box. You can't see inside. And that brings us to our third player, the caretaker. Think of the caretaker as the history keeper, or maybe the librarian. Its job is super simple. It asks the originator for a memento and then holds onto it. It might keep a whole stack of them. But crucially, the caretaker's one big rule is no peeking. It never ever looks inside the mementos it's holding. So, let's just quickly recap the team. The originator is the object that has the state and knows how to use it. The memento is the state, all packaged up. And the caretaker is the one that just manages the history, holding on to all those mementos without a clue what's inside. It's this clean separation of jobs that makes the whole thing so powerful. Okay, so we've met our cast of characters, now let's see them in action. Let's break down exactly how this whole memento dance works. It's a really simple, elegant flow. The caretaker basically says, hey, originator, time to save your state. The originator whips up a memento and hands it over. The caretaker takes that memento and just tucks it away in its history list. Then, later, when you hit undo, the caretaker just pulls out the last memento it saved, hands it back to the originator, and says, here, go back to this. The originator then opens it up and restores itself. Simple as that. And this, right here, this is the absolute heart of the pattern. The caretaker's ignorance is bliss, because it can't and doesn't look inside the memento. The originator's private data stays completely private. Encapsulation is preserved. We've solved the paradox. The rest of the system doesn't need to know or care how the originator works internally. Okay, this all sounds pretty great. So when should you actually reach for this pattern in your toolbox? Let's talk about the practical side of things, the applications, and of course, the trade-offs. So the upside is huge. You preserve that sacred rule of encapsulation, and you keep the originator's code clean, because it doesn't have to worry about managing its own history. The big downside, though? Memory, RAM. If your object state is massive and you're saving it constantly, you could end up using a lot of memory. You also have to think about how to manage that history. You can't just keep it forever. The best times to use Memento are pretty clear, though. Obviously, it's the #1 choice for any undo and redo feature. It's also perfect for things like save points in video games or checkpoints in a long multi-step installation wizard. It's even great for things like database transactions, where you might need to roll everything back if one step fails. And if you remember absolutely nothing else from all this, just remember the number 1. That's it. 1. That is the number of objects in the entire system that are allowed to see what's inside a memento. And that's the originator that created it, period. That strict privacy is the whole secret. So, I'll leave you with a little challenge. Now that you know the secret handshake, start looking for it. Where else do you see the memento pattern at work? In your photo editor, your IDE, your operating system? You'll start seeing its ghost everywhere, this quiet, essential pattern that makes our digital lives so much more forgiving. Pretty cool, right? Thanks for digging into this with me.